Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Let's go ahead and fire away. You can unmute yourself or type in. Go ahead.
And go ahead, Denise, then Anne.
Hey, Denise.
Hi. I have a bit of a sinus thing going on with
Okay.
ears and sore throat, but I take an antibiotic like since Saturday night. I'm doing I have a little more energy, but I still am kind of sick. I got your guys' message about the Melissa and the clary sage being the strongest. I guess my question is plus Greg, I have found this summer and it's ongoing that I get kind of hot and sweaty, and that's really uncommon for me. I do have a low thyroid. So it's uncommon for me to almost get hot and sweaty like I do. And
When you get hot and sweaty, is it all over your body, or is it just like on your abdomen and forehead, or certain spots on your body?
all over. It felt like all over, especially my neck and it felt like all over. It's like if I was a horse, it'd be a second sweat.
Right.
Sort of something like that. I know that's kind of gross. I'm sorry, but that's kind of
No, that
Yeah.
so okay. So like the sage and clary sage, have multiple things going on there. How long has the sweaty stuff been going on?
It's almost all summer, and they did switch my thyroid. I used to have it compounded, and I do have it compounded, but I had it like a pork for a long time, and they won't do
Right.
that anymore. So it's more compounded with some sort of something. I don't know what, but it's not animal anymore. They won't
It's
release
synthetic.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. And my body may not like that. You really liked like the more like white or something. It was in Canada, and I couldn't get that any longer either. So
And tell me a little bit. So the sinuses, they feel inflamed. There's mucus. Like, what's going on there? Do you have a fever?
yeah, a lot of pressure and a lot horrible headache, and especially it's been draining off to the left of the above my ear, and I can feel it go down past my ear. But at least it's draining. There is definitely junk going out, so that's a good thing, I would think.
Okay.
And just I think that in my adrenals, I was just so run down. So
Yeah.
that's probably what's taken a bit for me to get back on going with it.
Okay. And you are having a sore throat.
Yeah, I do periodically with this, which is really kind of odd. I don't often have that with the sinus deal.
But nothing done in your lungs, nothing like you have.
No, I've been coughing too.
What's that?
I have been coughing too.
Okay. So let me just sit with this for a minute. I mean, we have kind of like standard things that we do about this, but sore throat, you got drainage in the ears.
Especially that left ear. Is
Okay, let's see what you have. Do you have some rosemary, verbena, or neoli?
I think I might have the rosemary. I'm not sure about the verbena, but I think I might.
Okay, but even if it's just rosemary,
Okay.
let's have you take a couple of drops of that, like about every 3 or 4 hours for the next couple of days. And then how about bay laurel by chance? Do you happen to
I do have that. Yes, I do have that one.
So like you can do a drop or two of that, but you could also put some like on your finger and like kind of swab it on the back of your tongue. Like I would do like a gargle with it, like really swish it around. And then once you're done with all that, take it like another drop or two and rub it on the back of your tongue. And let's like kind of clean up the sore throat and if there's any bacterial infection, but that will also rise up into the sinuses and kind of keep. It's almost like doing an internal diffuser where you stick it in there and it'll just kind of keep rising up a little bit. It should help that as well. And then with the rosemary, do lots of inhalations, just not even directing it anywhere, just inhale a lot, getting it up in the sinuses. The issue with the sinuses is that it has a poor blood supply, and so when you take antibiotics, a lot of times it takes a couple cycles of antibiotics to knock it out. And so the more that you can cut down the inflammation, increase circulation, and then the rosemary will also kind of help break down the mucus and things like that. It's rosemary is incredibly good for the sinuses. And so
Excellent.
I would just like every 3 or 4 hours, just keep taking a couple drops.
Of the rosemary. And is
Yeah,
that also inhalation, but also take it
in turn. Yeah,
internal? Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
yeah. And I hate to give you too many things to do, but if it seems like it's just not clearing up or not clearing up very fast, at the health food store, there's this stuff called golden seal root. Go get yourself a small bottle of that and like 2 or 3 capsules twice a day, and it will really significantly cut down the mucus and stimulate your immune response, and it might even help clear up the ears a little bit. The rosemary might do it too, but like if it's just not doing it, I'd jump on that golden seal. I mean, we have golden seal all the time. Like we have it around the house, and when we travel, we always have the golden seal as well. And it's good for cleaning up mucus internally. And then when you use the oils like inhalation or a couple drops internal, they all work together. It makes for a very quick way of treating that condition.
Oh,
It's
that's
the golden seal is also a very good lymphatic stimulant. So it just helps clean the body up, and yeah.
and then in another class, because I saw it in my notes, you mentioned that black spruce was pretty good for the adrenals, better than maybe the adrenal support. Should I consider either
So
of or just stick with
if
one?
you have either one, I just start using it. Actually, even rosemary is good for the adrenals. The black spruce is very good for fortifying the adrenals. The adrenal support is a little bit interesting because, like, when you look at it, most of the oils in that aren't something that directly impact the adrenals specifically, but because they all address like fatigue in the body, and they're considered what you would call like terrain treatments, where they're not super specific, but they just kind of like fortify the body as a whole and just start making things work better and things like that. They're because of what it does to the body, it is actually fortifying to the adrenals. So I'd say whichever one you have. Like I would just start working with whatever you got. You could put the black spruce or adrenal support over the adrenal area, over your kidneys, or you can just put several drops on the wrist and just rub your wrist together.
Well, I don't. How about spruce supreme? I do have spruce supreme.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
would that be okay?
Black spruce would work better. It's a little bit more specific, but if you don't have any of that, just start hitting the spruce supreme. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I was going to place the order.
All the spruces are very fortifying to the body. And so that's really what you're needing. You're needing just to offset the effects of depletion and fatigue and things like that. And spruces and firs are very good for that, but spruces are a little bit more specific to the adrenals, especially black spruce.
Thank you. And then on the clary sage, I mean, Melissa, you just keep, I actually just can kind of keep hitting that on my tongue, not Melissa. But how about clary sage?
I'm not joking. We have bottles like scattered throughout the house, so that like when we're ever at a point, we don't miss we usually take it twice a day. I mean, it's just like bread and butter for us.
It's a good one.
I mean, every time I stop taking it, like if 4 or 5 days will go by and I'll take it, I was like, ugh, I feel so much better. Why am I not taking this all the time? And it's not like I'm feeling horrible, but like when I take it, I feel better. I feel stronger. I feel calmer. I feel like a little bit more peaceful. Like it's just everything feels better,
Excellent. And
Yeah.
how about the clary sage? Because I'll be ordering that. I've never had that before.
Clary sage would be, do you have sage?
I do. I
Why don't
have,
you just start using sage? Don't worry about ordering the clary sage. Just start using the sage. Like
okay.
inhale it, several drops on the wrist as well. Even you could put a little bit of that like on your abdomen or like on the tops of your feet, and just start getting that into the system. That will help you. Yeah, like no need to get another one. Just work the sage.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very, very much.
You're
I
so-
appreciate it. And thanks, Sam, too.
And then go ahead, Anne, then Ralph.
Hey, Ann.
My dog had a seizure on Friday and he
Oh.
rolled down the steps. He'd had one in May and seemed to be past it, but then Friday and I sat for an hour with him on the basement steps where he ended his roll. We have an appointment Thursday with the vet, but what would you suggest or what?
How old's the dog?
About 8 or 9.
Okay.
He was found on the side of the road.
Yeah. So you found it was a stray you found.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, kidney function with an animal like that age, it's usually a little bit later in life, but like you said, maybe the dog had a really hard life. And, honestly, this is what I would give it. I'd go down to the health food store and buy some CBD and just shoot some down its throat.
How are these caps or what?
You can get it in a tincture. There's things that you could do with oils, but for an animal and given the age and everything like that, I think the CBD it would make them feel better if the dog is, because the dog, because it had a hard time before you found it, you don't know the level of stresses that it's had.
Right.
So the other thing that I would do, I mean, I think it would help, but that the dog's already had a couple of seizures. I would do CBD internally, like take a dropper full, and how big of a dog is it?
65 pounds.
So give it like whatever the dosage is on the bottle, give it like about half to 2/3 of what it is.
Okay.
And then if you have basil, put like several drops of basil in your hand and then go up the spine from the tail to the head. Like just kind of rub it into the spine like that. That will probably calm the seizure down and calm down the stress levels for the animal, because it, like in animal, it's like when it goes into a stress state, like a lot of times it has a hard time shaking it off, and even though it could be years ago, it just will stay in that stress state. And so we want to kind of break it out of that stress cycle. So that combination of the CBD and the basil should be super helpful.
What, going to the vet, what will they suggest? Should I?
They'll probably put them on anesthesia medicines. Yeah.
I really don't want to do that.
I honestly, most times when we've had animals, unless there is like a really bad, like, neurological issue or something, the combination of the basil and the CBD usually knocks it out.
Okay.
Yeah. Like CBD is interesting because it works for pain, but it really, more than pain, it does things with like the neurotransmitters in the body, and it just kind of can regulate things in the nervous system in ways that other plants can't. And I used to go and do like therapy on some livestock. It was mostly alpacas, but there were some other kinds of animals too. And animals like your dog, like they can't talk and say this hurts, this doesn't hurt, I don't feel good, whatever. So you just have to kind of watch them, and there would be all these like kind of weird issues that would pop up. Like, they'd get a foxtail like down their ear, or their, something. And calling the vet out every time starts to get pretty costly and everything. And so we just try to come up with old school farmer ways of dealing with it. And whenever I was in doubt, I just would squirt CBD down their ear or squirt like whatever it was. And it always worked. Like it was crazy how much it worked. And it's, like even if we got the foxtail out, there would still be like a bunch of inflammation in there and everything. And
Yeah.
for humans, it works. I think it works better on animals than it does on people personally, but
Huh.
it still works good for certain weird things like this. And like seizures, that's one of the areas where, because there's different kinds of seizures, and it doesn't work on all seizures, but it works on a lot of the seizures. And so I would kind of go that route. I mean, if it was a human, we'd have them probably inhale like some like hyssop and do the basil and have them do this whole process. Hard to get the dog to do that. And so rub the basil on the spine, give a daily dose of CBD, and yeah, like it should make the dog feel better.
Right. When we got him, he had a collar on because the two young boys who found him put him in a lot with two pit bulls, and he was mangled and had scars around. So
Wow.
that alone, now he does not want to be around another dog. But he's wonderful.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, got a question for me. Long time ago, I had backache, and you said use marjoram. You'd said it was gut issue, and I've been doing it on my gut every morning. But I'm wondering, what
Like
is
cutting out, I couldn't catch what that's at.
okay? Long ago, months ago, I had backache, and you said use the marjoram. That
Okay.
it is actually a gut issue, and I'm wondering what's happening. What can I do to?
So it's more of a gut issue.
That's what you had said. So the margarine works wonderfully, but I'm just wondering what's happening in my gut.
And you're feeling better, or is it still
Oh
flat?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
great. It works.
Yeah, like so actually it could be a gut issue, but it also the muscles of the stomach. So not so much the digestive tract, but the skeletal muscles that cover the
Okay.
that will radiate pain around to the backside. And so that's what I was actually shooting to treat.
Okay. So
Yeah. So it's basically like how somebody would have a strained back or muscles in the back. That can happen in the abdominal muscles, and it will cause, because then like it throws off how the back like stabilizes itself. So then it starts to cause like weird pains on the backside. And so if you just unwind those stomach muscles, a lot of times the back pain will feel better.
Yeah, we're having a hard time.
Yeah, you're
hearing you.
cutting out really bad. I'm sorry.
I'm in the country. That's the problem. Um, I think I've got the answer. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
And then go ahead, Ralph, then Shravananda.
Hey, Mr. Off.
Hey, Greg. Helichrysum versus Helichrysum Supreme for skin problems. I had these the skin doctor burned me with liquid nitrogen, and I'm dealing with the scars. I've been using Helichrysum Supreme on a roller bottle that I got in one of the classes.
Right.
What's the difference between Helichrysum and Helichrysum Supreme skin problems?
Yeah, they both would work good.
Okay.
If you have the Helichrysum Supreme, I would stick with that. If
Okay.
you're needing to reorder, I would probably go just straight Helichrysum. The Helichrysum Supreme there is different types of Helichrysum all kind of pulled together.
Mhm.
And for like a scar or something like that, I'd probably just go straight Helichrysum. I mean, we're
Okay.
splitting hairs. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the Helichrysum Supreme would maybe be 80 or 90% as good. Like, you know what I mean? But especially if you're dealing with in the face, you really want to try to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just go straight Helichrysum. But if you had Helichrysum Supreme, it works really super good as well. So
Okay.
I wouldn't sweat it if that's what you're using.
Mhm.
But if you were needing to reorder, I would get just the regular Helichrysum for it.
Okay. Good.
How's that all
Second,
coming along? I'm curious.
it's well, the open sores are closing up,
Okay,
which is
good.
very good. Some of the scabs are coming off, which is nice, and it's starting to be real skin underneath,
Uh-huh.
which is I'm thrilled about. So making progress. I've been at it about 3 weeks here.
And so, once everything kind of clears up and everything,
Mhm.
do you have spikenard?
Yes.
I would do a little bit of spikenard, either like mix it in a little aloe vera or use it in like a little like face wash, if you're going to do like a little scrub, put a little
Yeah.
bit of soap and then a drop or two of the spikenard, and then like really like work the face and let it sit there for a minute and then wash it off.
Okay.
Or just apply mix it in aloe vera and just at night and just rub it all over. And
Mhm.
and the reason being that the spikenard will calm down agitation, and it will balance the skin out. And if you think of like what little precancerous or cancerous cells are, they're chaotic cell growth. So they're like a
Okay.
type of agitation in the skin.
Mhm.
And so, it's hard to say, but we know that spikenard is super balancing to the skin. We know that it's very soothing. It calms down like the little receptor sites in the area. Uh, I would, it wouldn't even have to be daily, but just as like prevention, I would go
Mhm.
through and use that a little bit.
How about spikenard in sesame oil?
Perfect. If your face can handle that, not everybody likes putting oil on their face, but if your face can handle it, I think that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
But like
Good.
wait till everything clears up and like all those spots are done. It's not
Mhm.
that the spikenard would do something bad. It's just I'd stay focused on doing what you're doing with the helichrysum, and then as soon as everything kind of cleans up, then start doing the spikenard to prevent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So you've had a couple of rounds of this, or has this been like an ongoing thing?
This has been an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
So,
Was
all
there a
right.
lot of exposure to the sun or
Mm,
no?
no, I don't think so. I grew up in San Francisco Bay Area, and I didn't wear a hat as a young person.
Yeah.
So there was some exposure, but it's not like somebody from Florida that and ran
Right.
around and got tan all the time,
Right.
or Southern California.
Hmm. Just thinking of what would be another like good thing for you to do prevention with. I'm gonna think about that. Like we got to be
Okay.
able to come up with something to help prevent any sort of future outbreaks.
Okay.
Let me think of, I like spikenard for it right now, but let me think if there's something else we can use.
All right. Vagus nerve class number
Mhm.
C on page 3. Is there something I can do in a foot bath that would be good for that?
What is it? So Vegas nerve, let me look it up.
Vagus nerve class no,
Um,
number C on page 3.
yeah, give me just a sec.
Sure. By the way, I'm liking those foot baths.
Yeah, aren't they nice? We've gotten into a kick like every night we're doing a salt bath, and it was just like, why weren't we doing this before?
Yeah.
I would take one from time to time, but
Hmm.
okay, so C,
Yeah. Vagus nerve and 3 brains.
And you're wanting something for foot bath on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Do you have some form of cedar?
Yes.
Yeah, do a cedar foot bath.
Okay.
You know, the thing is a lot of time when you do things for your feet, you're doing things to unwind the spine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And cedar is incredibly good for the spine.
Okay.
Sometimes at
All right.
night, I'll even put cedar on my spine right before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
you know, it keeps everything moving, but you know, as far as the three brain thing, it helps to it helps facilitate the alignment of the three brains.
Okay.
You know, it's not quick, but like
Yeah.
when I do it, like I notice it's a little bit better. Like, and every time you do it, it's just like a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Like it's just, you know, you're going more for the accumulation, but it's good for the veins, it's good for your legs, it's good for your back, it's good for a lot of things, and it
Mhm.
helps with the alignment of the three brains.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Good. Very good. Thank you, sir.
that's a good question.
Some
I mean, they're all good questions, but like
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
someone's asking if cedar wood would also work.
Yeah, cedarwood.
And then go ahead, Shraddhananda, then Margot.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, how are
Um,
you?
I am, I think, 50% better, which to me
Yay.
is phenomenal. And with that said, I'm not sure what's going on with my progress because, I feel better, so I do more.
Yeah.
And
That is super common, by the way.
yeah,
You know, because you'll go through like, okay, I don't feel good, so I have to like rest and not do things, and then you start feeling good, and you're like, okay, I gotta make up for lost time.
yeah.
It's very common with like an injury like that. Very, very common.
So I think what's been happening is I've had increased stamina and
Mhm.
part of that's medication and part of that's healing.
Sure.
And when I say medication, I'm including, the oils and the
Mhm.
herbal supplements and
Right.
all
Are
of
you
that.
having to take pain meds or
So
anti-inflammatories?
I'm still taking a very low dose muscle relaxer
Oh,
because the whiplash is still prevalent and every
yeah,
time I
I
go
would stay on
to
that for a while.
yeah. Every time I go to the PT, they find these little knots and they're like,
Yeah.
why do you keep having marbles in your neck? And I'm like, have you heard of whiplash? So,
Yeah.
so with my progress, like I think I told you, like my PT has me doing all these different variations of walking and marching, like
Mhm.
side to side and tandem walk, like you're on a tightrope and everything.
Mhm.
And now I can do every single one completely stable
Nice.
except the tandem walk. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have me doing a tandem stance on a cushion and just my feet side by side on a cushion, my eyes
Okay.
closed. So all that was improving. And then all of a sudden in the last week and a half, I'm stumbling again. My head's starting to hurt again, and it hasn't hurt in over a month. And the burning sensation, like the angry nerves that the doctor called it, that's happening again.
And the angry nerves, where are those happening at?
Across my skull, from the bottom of my skull across to just past the crown.
Okay. And stress levels have gone up, lack of sleep's gone up, like anything that's been
I think my sleep is about the same.
Okay.
I think my stress level probably did go up, even though I wasn't aware of it, but I won't deny that it's a possibility because my husband had COVID 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I was taking care of him and double chores around the house. And
you didn't get COVID though.
no, I
Yeah,
didn't.
tremendous, because like having an injury like that, your immune system's compromised for a little bit, and so like everything you're doing is keeping you strong enough to where you're not getting sick. That's super good.
Yeah.
So you know, there's kind of like stages or phases with whiplash, and
And I had the concussion.
yeah, I mean, there's things where it could just be like, oh, stress levels were up, maybe you moved a little bit. This is all temporary stuff while you're trying to get better, where maybe you overdid it or things like that. But at some point, the muscle that gets impacted by whiplash really impacts a lot of like function in your body. Like it impacts the inner ear, it impacts lymphatic function, it impacts some of the fight, flight, rest and repair, like how it shifts. It can impact your breath, it can impact digestive function. Like it's it's why we kind of went at it kind of a little bit aggressive when it first happened. But
Yeah.
at some phase, at some stage, you potentially have not in all cases, but you start to see like, okay, let's watch, make sure there's no migraines happening, make sure that the blood pressure doesn't go up, make sure that kidney function isn't off, make sure digestive things don't start going awry. Always kind of checking in on the breath, doing those things. And I'm wondering if it's like the situations that you're in, or maybe we're kind of entering that second phase where it kind of has settled into the body, and there's just like this next phase that starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we treat it as if that's what's happening. Like
Symptoms increase in that second phase.
What's that?
So symptoms can
Well,
return
symptoms they could potentially increase, but it's like almost like different symptoms can kind of come up. And so one type of headache is occipital neuralgia, which you kind of had in the early stages. And
Right.
so it kind of calmed down, and you would be like, well, maybe that just got agitated again. So this is what I'd say. Let's just talk it out for a minute, and then we'll kind of go from there. So one of the things that we like to do, like later in the phase, is it doesn't sound like you're having any gut issues, right?
My digestion has decreased by 50%. It's very sluggish now.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to take away the things that you're doing, but let's just add like a little tiny bit to it and see if this resolves it. We can do a thing that's it's not something that we have like on the site, but I have a thing where like when the digestive system is really depleted and really sluggish, this is like the way to jumpstart it. And it's like things that almost you would never blend together, but for this you blend them together. And it's a way to jumpstart that. But I'd say let's even hold off on that. Not for any reason, just don't want to overwhelm you with so many things to do more than anything. But the one thing that I think I'd like you to do is and you might already have these oils in various kits, and maybe we can look this up for like as I'm saying. One is allostasis, like blend allostasis. It's been in a few kits, but it's basically allows the body to go into the homeostasis mechanism to shift out of that, and allows the body to change. And then we use something like valerian or spikenard as a restorative to the homeostasis mechanism. And what we do is we go like back and forth with those two oils, like you're just inhaling them and your awareness is just on your Ming Men. And because the Ming Men gets, which is the area opposite your navel on your back, so affects blood pressure, affects, contributes to migraines, adrenal function, kidney function, low back issues. All of these things are associated with a particular center. And the center also takes energy from the lower centers and shoots it up to the head. And so if it becomes overactivated, it can cause the occipital neuralgia, or like a headache on the top of the head, or like you said, the angry nerves at the top of the head. That can be an issue. And so the going back and forth between those two, it basically kind of like drains the agitation out of the stress response. And it's really super specific to like trauma type, situation. So here the car accident is the trauma. And it does make you a little tired for like a day or two. Like after you do it once or twice, then like the stress, you're able to shake the stress off, and then your energy levels pop back up. But at first, when you kind of calm down the stress response, you're also calming down adrenaline production. And so you'll be like doing it and you're like, yeah, I'm kind of relaxed. And then you'll go to bed and sleep for 12 hours. It's like one of those kinds of things. And so it's not a thing to do like right off the bat, but if the symptoms kind of keep having a momentum, like think about it like that, is like whiplash, like if you can nip it right when it happens, the momentum kind of stops. But what I'm calling like a second phase or a third phase is the injury happens and there's like this momentum that kind of keeps happening in the body that you have to keep trying to pull back and reel in. And a lot of times we can nail it, but depending on how bad the injury was, and there's so many factors that you might be entering into like a second phase. And so those two oils, so either valerian or spikenard or like balance, she probably doesn't have balance, so probably spikenard or valerian. And then the other one is there's an oil that we don't talk about very much. It has kind of limited uses, but there's this oil called lantana. And usually it's used to treat like asthma and bronchitis and things like this. But one of the things that it's really good at is not so much in the acute phase, but like in a more chronic phase, it's very good for relaxing the sternocleidomastoid, which is the muscle that gets impacted in the whiplash. And basically with that one, you just inhale it like a couple of times a day, keep your awareness kind of at the bottom of your throat, the upper chest area, and it just keeps unwinding the sternocleidomastoid. I think even there's like a chain reaction that happens. Like, for example, if you clench your jaws, that Ming Men will overactivate. Your solar plexus will overactivate, your adrenals overactivate. And so like if the tension in the jaws starts getting bad, it starts to agitate the adrenals. It starts to agitate the Ming Men. And so it starts shooting more and more energy up towards the head, can make you a little ungrounded, can make you a little clumsy. It's just it's throwing the energy centers off. But I think maybe at the very least, let's maybe have you do lantana.
Okay, well, I have spikenard.
So okay, so do you have allostasis?
I think I have a tiny, like from a class.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's all you got to do. So take the spikenard and the allostasis and just you're inhaling it with your awareness on the Ming Men. Inhale it like 15 times, give yourself a break, then do the other one.
Okay.
Inhale it for about 15 times and then give yourself a break and then go, just keep going back and forth until you start going, you just start yawning like a crazy person, right? And then I would say let's just like have you get lantana, and then you're just gonna, after you do that several cycles of that, then spend time just inhaling the lantana for a little while. You can inhale the lantana by itself, but it will really help to unwind the sternocleidomastoid.
Okay. And I have one new symptom. For the first time in my life, I had 2 blood vessels burst in my left eye.
Okay.
The bottom right quadrant of my left eye looks like a tomato.
Okay. Did they check your blood pressure?
My blood pressure's low. Yeah. My blood pressure is always really low, like 110 over 60 something.
How long ago did that happen?
It happened on it actually burst on Sunday night. On Saturday night, I saw the little vessel bulging right beneath my iris, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that doesn't burst. And then it took 24 hours, and sure enough, my entire quadrant of my eye is just red.
And you're not having that in the other eyes or anything like that?
No. And I don't remember anything going in my eye or scratching.
No,
my eye
it's
or
it's
just
part of
all
this.
internal.
Yeah, it's part of this thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think just doing the things that we talk about. We had you doing vetiver at the base of the skull. Are you still doing that?
No.
Did we have her doing that? I can't remember. Let's have you also, do you have some vetiver? Or if not
Yeah.
vetiver, use your spikenard. Take some spikenard and just rub it along the base of the skull.
Okay.
It'll help calm down that occipital neuralgia. And like when you do that, it helps to open up the neck and it calms down the nervous system a bit.
Okay. Because since it happened, I've just been inhaling helichrysum just in case.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one to do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, the doctor said
gonna-
there's nothing I can do about it. It's just gonna
No.
2 weeks to get the blood done.
Yeah, like once it's happened, it's just kind of happened, you know, but my thing is like, what's that also reflective of?
Yeah.
I think if we just calm the things down that we're talking about, I think we're moving in the right direction. So put spikenard at the base of the skull. Do the allostasis and the spikenard, and then at some point get lantana and just inhale that. It's a really inexpensive oil. It's not very expensive at all.
Okay.
Like
Thank you so
15 or
much.
$16 or something, it's I go through phases where I inhale it and then I don't, and then when I do, I'm like, God, my throat and neck feels so much better. But it doesn't really, like, it wouldn't have been the thing to do like right when you had the accident. But as time goes by and it starts to be something chronic, it's like, oh, let's unwind this.
Yeah, it's like my SCMs are memorizing
Yeah.
this terrible position, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So like just to give you a like what you said, and in my early days when I was being trained more with osteopathic principles,
Mhm.
one of the first things we did, like regardless of what the condition was, we would go and check the sternocleidomastoid. You treated that before you treated anything else, because if that was off, it just starts causing all kinds of weird things in the body. So you treated that thoroughly, regardless of what the presenting symptoms were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, back when I was looking at it, yours didn't look like horrible, but like that's the thing, is like sometimes there's a momentum that keeps happening in the body because of like muscle imbalances and things. And your physical therapists are right on the money with doing all the stuff with the walking, because the sternocleidomastoid, part of what it does is it will have a big impact on your gait. So like when you're walking, like a lot of times when you're walking and you have a sternocleidomastoid issue, like, you're doing your normal steps. And then at one point, one of the steps will go.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I
That's
do.
because of your sternocleidomastoid. Like your gait is totally dictated by a lot of the activity of your sternocleidomastoid. And so all those exercises that they're doing, it's like they're reverse engineering the effect that the sternocleidomastoid, they're trying to affect it a different way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
it's
all those things are good. Like
okay.
you gotta just stay on it for a while. Like, there's certain conditions where, like when you're healing it, it's, you try to nudge the body into homeostasis and everything, and sometimes it's a bar fight.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Whiplash can be a bar fight sometimes, where you
Yeah.
just got to keep like, break the bottle and go at it. You just got to keep going at it for a while until it stops.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Thank you so much. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
keep us posted though, because if there's other weird symptoms, let's try to nip it in the bud before it gets worse.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Margot, and then we have questions in chat as well.
Hey, Margot.
Hey, Greg. I've been having sort of intermittent lightheadedness. You and I had a little correspondence about it a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
And, I can't see any pattern in when it happens and when it doesn't happen. And then last evening, I got full dizziness.
You are getting dizziness.
It happened last evening and it lasted about 2 or 3 hours. And I kind of thought it was BPPV, and I took a dose of homeopathic Briona alba.
Mhm.
The dizziness actually left after I don't know, 3 hours or maybe a little bit more. But there was still like a little bit of lightheadedness. And then I happened to read this week's Daily Dose about peppermint, which talks about lightheadedness.
Right.
So I just wanted to know if you have any suggestions.
Well, that's actually the thing. Like, what did we have you do last time? Usually, hyssop is what I go to right off the bat. But
Well, what you had me do last time is inula and then the fear oils.
Okay.
And that helped the fear some, but the dizziness still, I'm sorry,
Dizziness is
I
still
call
there.
it dizziness. The lightheadedness is what, the dizziness was only last night. The lightheadedness is what has been ongoing. And and I don't think this makes any difference, but I had done earlier in the day yesterday a foot bath with chocolate root cleanser and inhaled heliochrysum. I mean, I just, I think, could they be connected?
I would think not, but also
yeah.
anything goes. Like, you know what I mean? Like it could have stirred something up. It could be like, are you getting going back to how we were talking about with the last person, when you walk, is your tracking okay? Are you getting clumsy at all? Like, do you bump into things or drop things real easy?
No,
Okay.
my walking is fine.
So good. So
Yeah.
I think it's just more of an inner ear thing. And do you have hyssop?
I do. Yeah.
And do you have peppermint?
I don't have peppermint yet, but
Like, let's see how the hyssop does. Like, what I was going to have you do is go back and forth between hyssop and the peppermint. Let's just have you do hyssop. I mean, a lot of times we can knock it out with hyssop, but that it's been going on and that it lasted for 3 hours. That's a little while. Usually there's like shorter bouts, but when it starts to be like a long bout like that, I usually like to get a little bit more aggressive in how I treat it. So, you don't really have to direct it anywhere. Just kind of inhale the hyssop 15, 20 times, give yourself a break. 15, 20 times, give yourself another break. 15, 20 times, like keep doing it. And you could even just lay in bed and do it until you kind of fall asleep. Or even in the middle of feeling dizzy, pull out the hyssop and really start inhaling it. But I would say get some peppermint too at some point, and then just go back and forth, like inhale the hyssop, then inhale the peppermint, and then inhale the hyssop, inhale the peppermint. And usually that will knock it out. There is a condition called viral neuritis that can throw off the inner ear and cause dizziness. And so I do have a blend for that. Even if you don't have the viral neuritis, still the nerves can get inflamed, and so I'll still use that same blend.
And maybe
Wait.
that would, I mean, because it seems to be ongoing, you know, but
Right.
just intermittent.
Yeah,
So I should get maybe that one, the viral.
I would probably get the peppermint. And
Okay.
you know, we were just talking about lantana for the sternocleidomastoid with the person before.
Yes.
I would maybe do that as well. Like the thing with the inner ear is it's heavily impacted by the sternocleidomastoid, which are these two rope muscles that come
Right.
down, and
Yeah.
they pass over and can compress the carotid sinus, which can throw the blood off in the head, which can make you a little dizzy, or they'll throw off the inner ear. And so one of the things to pay attention to, like since you're doing okay right now, let's not have you do it, but one of the ways that you kind of can check for it is like you just tilt your head back, you know, as far as it can go, and leave it there for like 10, 15 seconds, and then bring it back in doing that. If it's heavily impacted by the sternocleidomastoid, that will make you dizzy or lightheaded, you know,
Well,
because
you know,
the pressure, like when you go like this, you're putting a little bit more pressure over the carotid sinus, and boom. So it's more the blood part than anything. But
I've noticed that not all the time, but sometimes when I tip my head back, it you know, it intensifies the lightheadedness.
okay,
And yesterday, when I tipped my head forward, it would do that.
yeah, that's the trapezius too. Okay, so let's definitely have you do the lantana. Like
Okay, and
and
peppermint.
lantana. Yeah,
But
and you have the
and
hyssop, so you're just going to rotate all three. Just the once you get it, I'd probably go a little heavier on hyssop and a little heavier on lantana, but still put peppermint in the mix.
okay.
And like the three, that should really knock that out. I mean, if it doesn't, then bring it to my attention, because then we got to be a little bit more aggressive about what we do. And it's not that it's anything harsher, but it starts to get really more specific. And a lot of times these general things don't get dressed by the really specific blend that for the neuritis. And so I'd rather really make sure that the neck is all unwound and the breath is okay before I mean, because that was even the idea with the annula, is to deepen the breath, relax the diaphragm, like all of that. A lot of times that will knock it out. But let's have you try these three, and then from
Okay.
there we'll look at the neuritis component if it doesn't get better.
And so do I just do this like for how long? I mean,
I would do it for like, probably, even if you feel better, I'd probably do it for like a week to 2 weeks, and then from time to time just tune it up for a little bit.
and how long, I mean, how often during the day?
I would do it like in the evenings if you feel up to it. I do it morning and night.
Okay.
But you know, I would keep one of them in your pocket just in case you get a little bit of a flare up and you're in the middle of doing something, a way to kind of be able to pull yourself out of it when it's happening. Probably the hyssop is the one that I'd keep in the pocket.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. But keep us posted, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Barbara, then we have some questions in chat.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey there. I went for too long a walk in rundown sneakers and
Ah,
have triggered some old injuries, and my knee started sort of collapsing.
like you wanted to
And
buckle?
yeah, like it wanted to buckle.
Okay.
And there's pain deep in the butt cheek, and down the side of the thigh, outer thigh is really tender. And I
Okay.
was actually having trouble being stable walking for the first 36 hours. It's gotten better. Um, I've used some marjoram, some birch complex, and some pain relief neuropathic.
Okay.
And
The neuropathic definitely put on the butt cheek.
Yeah.
Do you have like a terebinth?
I do.
Put terebinth like right at the top of the thigh, like let's shoot you a picture. Hold on. Okay, she's gonna post this for you here. So I know this is splitting hairs, but did it feel like your knee was going to go out, or did it feel like your leg was going to go out? Did it feel like it was going to go out like at the knee level or at the pelvis?
At the knee, like it was
Okay, that's what
collapsing
I
in.
thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, years ago playing badminton, I jumped up and came down on ground that wasn't there and smashed that.
Ah,
Um, I've also injured the deep hernial nerve in the past on that side.
how'd you do that?
Sitting too long on a hard meditation cushion.
Yeah,
Actually had a
What?
partial foot drop for
yeah.
many
It can
months.
happen. Okay, so you see the middle leg there, and it's got the two X's on it.
Yes.
Okay, so the bottom X,
Mm-hmm.
that being activated is what's causing the knee to like buckle or want to buckle. And so you can see it's on the inner part of your thigh on the front, off center of your kneecap. And so put some terebinth in that area and then just kind of rub it with like your fingertips, like you're kind of just getting in and digging a little bit, but you'll need to do that daily for a little while. But the combination of the terebinth and then the compressing with your fingertips should break that up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably been there for a long time, by the way. The long walk made it a little worse, but that didn't just happen.
No, I know I'm susceptible to
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
I wear down my shoes on the outer aspect, and I
Yeah.
should have tossed these and got some new ones, and
Yeah.
I think that was the tipping point.
Yeah. So the other thing, like when I was talking about, like, is it the pelvis? So up top where they kind of attach, you see how there in that middle one, there's that one that's kind of cut away that,
Mhm.
so right there, you could put terebinth there as well, because that's the one that will make your whole like leg feel like it wants to give out. Like the bottom one makes your knee want to give out, but the other one is almost like the leg can't bear weight. So that's more of like it's giving out at the pelvis rather than at the knee. And so it's the very top part of the quadricep.
It does feel tender there, and
Yeah, I would probably treat them both. that you have an injury and that you have this predisposition. You know, usually a trigger point doesn't happen just by itself. There's usually other ones. And so I would treat up top and down below.
Okay, thank you. It also still
Yeah.
feels tender in the groin area from the
Yeah.
puncture wounds from the procedure
Yeah.
6 weeks
Yeah.
ago. That's tender too. But
Yeah.
do I do anything with that? You had said
Helichrysum, like
Yeah.
helichrysum. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Keep me posted. If for some reason that's not getting better, let me know.
I will. Thank you.
And then go ahead, Deborah, and then we have a few questions in chat.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Greg. So talking about knee issues,
Mhm.
I have my knee, like I can feel the grinding and inflammation in my left knee. I don't know exactly what I did to start the issue, but I know that I have probably made it worse with like a bad position in an aerobic class. And then at the same time, I have an ankle that is really flaring up. And both of them come and go, come and go.
Are they on
over
the
the
same
last
leg or on opposite legs?
same leg. And it's like my bad leg. That's where I have all of my injuries. That's where I've had my ACL replaced. That's where I've torn muscles. It's always that leg. And it's always like from my knee down. That's actually the side where I got hit when I was crossing the street, got hit by the
Oh,
moped.
wow. How long ago was that?
The moped was in 2019, August. That sent me flying in the air and landing on my head. And actually, I felt when I first started working with you, a lot came out in the foot area that felt like it was related to that accident.
And are you prone to the tibial band issues or anything like that? Like the outer part of your thigh?
Not that I really know of, except for that I am extremely tight. You know, I had the psoas problems, which I think I've worked through a lot. And I'm not riding as much. Although, you know, when I ride, I'm traveling right now. I'm in New Orleans at my mom's, and so I've been riding a couple of days, and my knee is not bothering me when I do that. So I, you know, the tightness is usually has been like lower back, hips, all that related to the psoas. Not really feeling that so much, just tightness all over, and doing like yoga positions to loosen things up.
So popping and like grinding behind the kneecap.
Yeah. I know that when I got my ACL replaced back in 2008, he said he went in and scraped my meniscus a little bit then, and that it was torn slightly. And arthritis runs in the family for the knees, so but it's strange that it's coming and going. It's not
Yeah.
constant.
Do you get pain on the side of your knee?
Yes.
Yeah. So when he was doing the surgery, did he talk about your popliteal muscle or tendon?
No. He was not very
I think you have
informative.
popliteal tendonitis.
Oh.
It's this little tiny muscle that it doesn't get aggravated in the general public. Usually, like a runner, a cyclist, a tennis player, a soccer player. You know, somebody who's like running and stopping, or just does a lot of running, or the cycling, and it's part of the up motion, like when you're cycling. And so the tendon and sheath can get irritated, and it can cause some of that. So part of what you want to do is you want to treat the hamstring a little bit, especially the lower hamstring. And it's like the backside of your knee. So like where the crease is, I would do a combination of, like, if you had arthrocare, you could use that, but I would use a combination of equal parts helichrysum and eucalyptus citrodora,
Okay.
and apply it to that knee 2 to 3 times a day, even if it's feeling good, 2 or 3 times a day. And the issue is that when that starts to develop tendonitis, it actually can be tendonitis, or it could be called tenosynovitis, because the area where that's happening, it will impact the synovial fluid in the bursa sac. And so what happens is you're not getting quite the lubrication on the tendon and sheaths. So it's like a dry tendon sliding on a sheath, and it feels like gravel. Like, you know what I mean? It feels
Yes.
like, and then sometimes it won't, like you said, like, you're fine, and sometimes you're not. And so like that would still be kind of more of an acute phase. It's rarely diagnosed, like rarely diagnosed. And I mean, usually it's a sports orthopedic guy that will find it. And the treatment is usually just like massive anti-inflammatories, and you stay off of it for a while, which it's hard just to not do anything for periods of time. And so I have found that combination of the helichrysum and eucalyptus citrodora used consistently for a while can actually undo that. To treat the hamstring, it's a weird thing. Like sometimes stretching it will actually make it worse, because it has to be a really passive stretch. And so do things that are like kind of antispasmodic, or like open up the fascia. So like peppers or wintergreen, or even marjoram can be helpful, but I would probably lean more towards like wintergreen, or black pepper or something like that on your hamstring, like not so much on the knee, a little bit above the knee, and then up.
Okay. On
Yeah.
the backside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have pepper supreme.
Yeah.
I don't
Perfect.
I have,
Yeah. Perfect.
okay.
No, that's perfect.
And that's all of this is probably affecting the ankle, or that's just
Yeah,
coincidence?
it's probably all part of the same thing. Like if you want to treat the ankle, I mean, if you have the helichrysum, eucalyptus citrodora already mixed up, put it on the ankle. But like, I think if you stabilize the knee and the leg, the ankle will fall in place.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, but you're not like getting a change in your shoe size, or your arches falling, or anything like that.
No.
Okay, I would just treat the knee. Yeah, I mean, reduce the pain in the ankle. Don't get me wrong, reduce the
Right.
pain, but I don't know that focusing on the ankle is going to do a whole lot. You got a significant thing happening in the knee. It's probably causing the ankle issue.
Well, I find that when I don't favor it, and I just kind of walk through the pain, that the
Mhm.
pain goes away.
Yeah. There's a thing that, like, when you start favoring it, or you start losing muscle tone, there's a thing called tarsal tunnel syndrome. And it's just like you're kind of moving off your arch, or you're not having it be so much weight bearing, and it's just this chain reaction stuff that happens. It's never a thing to where like, oh, walk through the pain, but this is kind of might be one of them. But it's like you just want to keep your gait as normal as possible, and if you stabilize that knee, like everything else should probably fall in place.
Thank you so much. It makes
Yeah.
so much sense.
Yeah, keep me posted though. Keep me posted.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Sonia.
Hey, Sonia.
Is there something that works like spike yard that's less strong, more gentle?
Or what you're trying to do?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, like a lot of times for things you've had us put it between our toes or on skin, and it takes my
Spikenard.
skin off.
Oh, it's irritating to the skin.
It falls off.
Oh wow.
But a couple of days, it's like, uh-oh.
Why don't you just try lavender? Lavender would, it's not quite as potent. It's much easier on the skin. Still kind of does some of the same things. It's just a little gentler.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we do have some questions in chat as
Yeah.
well. And then if you guys have any more questions, obviously just raise your hand or type in. So I'm gonna start scrolling a little further up here. Can you talk a little bit more about the immunity class that's coming up?
Yeah, so a lot of times we approach immunity, and when we talk about it, we talk about like a kind of symptom, like, oh, this symptom, that symptom. How do we stimulate this? How do we balance this? How do we calm this down? Which is all good. And then we look at like, how do we regulate the whole system? This is more of the energetic mechanics of how the immune system works. And it kind of does like a full body thing where it kind of looks at the immune system like holistically through the whole body and brings it back to a more regulated, even keeled state. So even in cases of like autoimmune issues, there is this treatment where you can go through where you can focus on particular areas more, but you do this big general treatment to just keep nudging the immune system into a more balanced state. It strengthens it, it calms it down, it regulates it. And then there's lower emotions that can be agitated by the lower emotions, or excuse me, by the immune function. Like anger can be sometimes a byproduct of the immune system not functioning properly. And so we're looking at it more from an energetic point of view rather than a systemic point of view or a symptom-oriented approach. It's a bit of a different approach, but they would marry and merge quite easily, just like how we did the energetic mechanics in the nervous system, where there's the energetic component and then there's a neurological component. This is similar in a way, and basically one of the phases is we are just going through and treating the homeostasis mechanism of the body, which is defense mechanisms tied to immunity. And we're doing like this general body treatment that you can do regardless of what you think is going on. You're like, oh, I might be getting sick. I might have this. I might have that. I might have an autoimmune issue. You can just basically do the same protocol for any of it, and then spot treatment with the symptom-oriented approaches that we've talked about before. So it is kind of a bigger picture, very specific to the whole system rather than specific to just an aspect or a symptom-related approach. And so.
Suggestions for a do-it-yourself flea and tick spray?
Tick and flea. Tick and flea. I mean, you could probably use peppermint. You could probably use citronella would work. Yeah, I'd probably go peppermint, like corn mint or peppermint, something like that.
And just like we do normal sprays.
Yeah, I put it in alcohol and then just spray it on the dog. Other things I'd say citronella, but ticks do not like peppermint. Like if you get a tick, put peppermint on it and the tick will back itself out and then the tick will die.
Somebody said the tansy plant, another said I sprayed on my socks, the peppermint,
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah.
when I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
The outermost edge of my tongue has little hot spots that can really hurt at times to varying degrees for the last 5 to 6 weeks. What is it and how to stop?
So you're getting little hot spots on the outside of your tongue. And do you feel like your throat's inflamed or mouth's inflamed at all?
No.
I would probably start with like geranium as a gargle, like any form of geranium, rose geranium, Egyptian geranium, 2 or 3 drops, gargle in, and do that maybe twice a day. And let's see, that should probably knock it out, but we'll see. Yeah.
A client has arthritis in the left hip that is causing discomfort and pain. The doctor suggested cortisone shots and physical therapy for now, and maybe in several years, if needed, hip surgery. But she prefers a more natural solution. Which oils, protocols can ease the symptoms and slow the progression?
So two things that I would do. One is that joint relief. I would use it in an ointment, not just neat. We put the joint relief in not just a base of sesame oil, but we do it with the sesame oil and extraction of licorice root, which has a kind of a steroidal, like a steroid effect. And so that applied to that hip twice a day, and then Sylvester pine to the wrist maybe twice a day, like 3 or 4 drops twice a day. The Sylvester pine will elevate, help the body produce its own cortisone rather than getting a cortisone shot. So that's helpful, but the joint relief increases blood flow to the area, helps blood leave the area, and has an antispasmodic effect. Basically, the way to slow down the degeneration of that hip is to increase blood flow into that hip socket. And the issue is that the cartilage doesn't have its own blood supply. And so the more you keep increasing blood there, it keeps the cartilage hydrated. And so it can be compression from the bone, but a lot of times it's spasms in and around that joint. So putting that joint relief on multiple times a day, it can really slow the progression of that quite substantially. The idea though is to be consistent with it.
And go ahead, Deborah, and then I'll let you know.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, this is about my mom. She, when she gets in the car, she actually has to pick up her leg because my mom is 94 and soon to be 95. She has to pick up her leg to get in the car because she has such burning pain that goes down her whole leg. And she was told by the doctor that it's the bursa in her hip.
Yeah. The bursa in her hip, and it's probably the psoas. Her hip's okay, like they've x-rayed it and all that?
Probably not. They probably have not x-rayed it, but she has a lot of stuff going on. She's got long-term shingle pain in her chest area that I thought was going to kill her because she got that was many years ago. And then she's got enlarged heart and kidney disease that they regulate. And so medications, she also has a lot of problems with the calcium being drawn out of her bones that they just have started treating. She
Okay.
can't do a lot of exercise because of breathing issues, but she's amazing. She still drives and runs a business and all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Enlarged heart. I mean, I would put her right off the bat. I'd put her on coenzyme Q10. Not necessarily for the hip, but with the enlarged heart and some of the other symptoms, that will probably improve how she feels, quality of life, improve some heart function. The hip, there's that oil, nerve health. I would have her rub that on her hip and down her leg a little bit. And the idea is it's anti-inflammatory, it's soothing, it's protective to the nerves. It's a good first step in any sort of pain relief. But part of that with having to lift the leg up is sometimes the nerves need to be re-educated, and that blend is good for like neuropathy and re-educating the nerves and painful nerve patterns and pain patterns in the body. That's where I would go with that at first with her. We could make it in a body tonic if she doesn't want the oil, but I would probably do the oil if she would be okay with that.
I think she's probably okay with the oil, and you would just so she can just apply that directly all the way down the leg.
Get it in an ointment. Like, I think we do like a what is it with arnica and St. John's wort and calendula, which also
good.
deepens the antispasmodic and the pain relieving effects. I would do that. I would put that in, and then also I would give her coenzyme Q10. Like actually what I'd give her is ubiquinol, which is a more digestible form of coenzyme Q10. Like even if you go on to Amazon and you put in coenzyme Q10, ubiquinol will come up usually, with coenzyme Q10. And I would do 2 or 3 of those gel caps a day. I think it will make her feel better. She'll have more energy. It makes the body function better. It increases energy levels in the cells and in the body, but it's really good for the heart.
Believe it or not, that's going to be the hardest part to sell her on, because when she was being treated for shingles, they did every type of thing from off the market, and she insists that that's why she's having kidney problems. So
she might not be far off. Like I mean that's very possible. Does she still have shingle pain?
She does. It's not as obvious. She never talks about it anymore, but you still have to be really careful. Like, you can't hug her, you can't like pat her on the back.
So you can try sage for that, like a body tonic on the body. But I dug out an old formula of mine for like leftover shingle pain. Like just peppermint sometimes can be helpful, but I think we even put it in the thing with the peppermint, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, so we put it in as clinical corner, but with the
that's right, that's what it
product
was,
itself,
right?
Yeah,
we because I mean, as weird as that sounds, the hip could actually even be leftover issues from the shingles.
That doesn't sound weird to me.
I've seen several cases where the person was just not responding to anything for certain kinds of nerve pain, and we treated it eventually as a virus, you know, a viral issue, went away.
So she had
like,
she had the shingle problem. It was years ago,
mhm.
and it went on for a year, and the
Oh,
pain
yeah.
was so intense.
It could go on for a
that-
decade. Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought it was going to kill her. I mean,
Yeah.
the deterioration in her
Yeah.
was.
Shingles suck. Like, I can speak from personal experience. They suck. Yeah.
So going back to this, because I'm really excited about some of the stuff you're saying. So I put that first one that you recommended,
Nerve
which
help. I would still use that on the hip, but I would say, you know, maybe we'll make up you know, I dug up the formula. I don't even know that I made it in a product, but like sometimes when people just need something, I have a bunch of things that aren't on the site that I just will make like as a one-off. We could do that for you. Even just make a small little bottle and just see how it treats her. And then if it works, make her bigger bottle. But it's specifically for leftover nerve pain from post shingle outbreak.
I would love that. And
Yeah.
I'll send it directly to her. And so I'll reach out through the info calendar email.
Yeah. And just let Samantha know the shingle ointment. Like that's
Okay.
all you gotta say. I'll know exactly what she's talking about.
Terrific. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Let me just make sure no one wants to sand this real quick. So, someone's asking on the geranium, is there a substitute other than geranium for that gargle for their thing?
You may just a second, let me look. Ginger.
Okay. Another question, a friend got multiple stings from the ground hornets today.
Oh,
Still having lots of pain. Any suggestions?
yeah, helichrysum, chamomile, yarrow, you know, blue tansy, dark blue tansy, something of that nature. I mean, if you don't have any of those, lavender. But I would also, if you don't have quercetin, like take a Benadryl or something that's an antihistamine, because part of it is the sting and the whatever, but there's also a inflammatory slash like allergic response. The more you calm that down, the more it calms down the pain and the inflammation on the site. So treat it topically and then still take some quercetin. And if you don't have that, just like a Benadryl or something, you know, you'll probably have to take a couple of them. Boy, hornet stings, man, those things hurt.
Which type of cedar is best for back pain, thoracic area in the back?
For back pain. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to treat?
So that was me, Sharananda.
Oh,
Uh,
hey.
So my husband has recurrent pain in his right thoracic area. And it happens mostly when he lies down.
Like on his low back, his mid back.
It's I would say from the bottom of the scapula, about a handprint, maybe 2 handprints down. That whole area.
Hmm. I would probably use either like marjoram. What kind of pain blends do you have?
I don't know. I've got like 100 oils here.
Right.
You call out something and I'll let you know if I have it.
Do
I
you
have
have that
marjoram.
nerve help?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And I'm just getting ready to order some joint relief, but that's not.
I would say nerve help would be my first choice for that, but let's still try to problem solve this. I like either just some helichrysum or marjoram, but like go from the spine and go all the way to the side of his rib cage.
Okay.
Like, so you're kind of working the way all the way around, because that kind of sounds like, I mean, it could be the lower trapezius, but it sounds like it's the latissimus dorsi.
Mhm.
And so the real problem is actually on the side, even though you're feeling pain closer to the spine, the problem's actually off to the side.
Oh, okay.
And so I would still I'd treat the spot that hurts, but I'd take it all the way to almost where you're almost starting to go to the front side. And if you go kind of in that same area, like below the tip of the shoulder blade, you know, and go and start poking on it, there's going to be a spot that kind of almost makes him jump, like
Mhm.
because it'll hurt, kind of like that's the spot that needs to be treated. Terebinth would probably work as well.
I have that.
Yeah, so you could experiment. You could even layer them and do one and then the other, but you know, give it maybe 10 minutes in between. But that's how I treat it right off the bat.
Okay. And then if I found I do not have any cedar, so just to have, is there a best one to order?
What are you trying to do with the cedar?
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to have it.
Oh, yeah, any of the cedars work. I mean, they all have some slightly different properties to them, but they're so slight that I don't even really get into, like, you know, the nuances. But I personally like the Himalayan cedar or the blood cedar just because of the smell. It's just it's intoxicating to me. But that's just my personal preference.
Okay,
It's
you
more
had
about
said
the
earlier.
scent than anything. But
Okay, you had mentioned earlier that cedar's good for unwinding the spine. I think you were
it
talking.
can be, yeah, over a period of time, but especially like for doing some of the other things. But it does unwind lymphatically. Doesn't necessarily unwind it like muscularly, like, you know,
Okay.
the marjoram would be, but like going back and forth between the two, super good, because using marjoram and then even the next day using cedar, you're pumping the lymph along the spine, and that's usually a very big issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And just regular ginger, chewing ginger with ginger as food help.
What are we talking about?
The geranium substitute being ginger.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you could try it.
Good questions tonight, guys. I think we're good to do a practice.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do is let's have you pull out like either mugwort or artemisia, spikenard, valerian, vetiver, galbanum. And while they're doing that, we black pepper. Okay, we're going to work the three brains. So I'll guide you through it. Even if you don't know what we're doing, I'll guide you through it. So first, whatever oil you chose, begin inhaling with your awareness on the brain. You're inhaling, your awareness is on the brain. And let that go for a moment and just be still. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on the solar plexus, the area below your ribs, your upper abdomen. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause and be still. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on the sex chakra, where the sex organs are. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause and be still. Okay. You've done the brain, the solar, and the sex chakra. Now inhale, trying to keep your awareness on all three. Don't try to balance them at this point. You're just trying to practice with your awareness on the brain, the solar plexus, and the sex chakra. And then pause and be still. Just pause and let go. Your awareness is on all three again. Your brain, your solar plexus, your sex chakra. And inhale. And then just be still. Just be still. Now you're going to do all three again this time, but now you're going to try to have equal awareness on each one. Equal awareness on the brain, the solar, and the sex chakra. And then just be still. So what we're doing here is we're looking at your thoughts, how you feel, and then your instinctive responses, and we're harmonizing them. So this is known as the three brains. And it's a way to organize the brain. And by doing this, it turns on your intuition. Now, intuition isn't necessarily like always going to be like, you look at an object and you get some sort of hit. Intuition, especially here, is more of what you would call like functional intuition or functional clairvoyance. It helps you to be more efficient and put yourself in the right place at the right time, in motion, in situations, in action, rather than sitting and observing something and waiting for a response. It's like, how do I cut through this situation? How do I keep from getting hurt? Or how do I be more efficient? Or how do I improve my chance of success? Whatever that might be. And so in a way, it makes you more innovative. It makes you more relaxed, more peaceful. It can reduce anxiety, but it's literally what is meant as being a vessel of light. This isn't the complete practice. You have to kind of keep working your way up through the different pieces of the practice, but being able to balance all three is a big piece of it. So we've practiced that a bit. Let's take it a little bit further, and we're going to balance the three, and then within a minute or so, we're going to go to the spine. Okay, so you're balancing your brain, your solar plexus, and your navel. And oh, did I say navel? Brain, solar plexus, and excuse my brain fart, the sixth chakra. Move your awareness to your spine, your whole spine. Keep your awareness on the spine. If a spot jumps out at you, and put your awareness on that. Otherwise, it's your whole spine. And then just be still. Just let it incubate for a moment. Okay. Let's go ahead and share experiences and mute yourself. You can ask questions about the process or your experience. You can mute yourself or type in.
Go ahead, Sonia.
What was that last that you said? Did you say do spine twice?
No, just after you go from the 3, you go to the spine.
And there was nothing after that?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
What are the subtle differences among the oils you're recommending?
Some of the oils are to reduce agitation in those areas, like the spikenard, valerian, vetiver, roscus, galbanum, which can be necessary for a little bit. The mugwort and the artemisia have more of a activating effect. And then later we'll use things made specifically for those centers and this practice. But it's good to kind of build it up over a period of time.
Very calming. I feel like a nap.
Yeah. Calming, clearing to the mind, can reduce anxiety, very soothing, helps you to cut through some, like when there's a bunch of information or a bunch of stimuli, it helps you to cut through it very quickly. And it just increases intuition, which is information beyond your senses. Like it's functional information. How do I manage in the movement of this situation, rather than the situation itself is like a structure. The movement within the situation is like the essence, and it's like, how do I manage the essence in this situation, the movement, the expansion, the dynamic activity.
Go ahead, Sonia.
Sonia.
So like I had a quantitative EEG, and so my left hemisphere is underactive and my right is overactive. So I used mugwort because I need that left hemisphere to be more active. But, and I don't think the right hemisphere will relax more because I think it compensates some for the other sides that's not active. And so am I doing the right approach to that?
You're using mugwort?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing good.
I'm feeling chilly in the arms, but not chilly anywhere else on my body.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the shift of energy in the body. A lot of times you'd feel it all over, but in the arms or arms and legs, it's just it will regulate usually within a few minutes.
Definitely a cool feeling.
Yeah.
No pun intended. It's hard to focus on all three centers. I find my thoughts drifting.
Yeah. That's just going to take practice. This isn't even the whole practice, but this is the part that we're practicing right now just to get used to doing it. It's you're doing three things. Even when you're doing two things, like it can be hard, but the mind eventually can settle into it. When you put three into the mix, it takes a while for the mind to get used to doing it. You know, I've been doing this for a long time and I'll still be like doing it and then my mind takes off, or I'm doing it, but my awareness is mostly on my brain or something. You know, it just takes consistency to go through. That's why we're just doing this really slow. I mean, there's other pieces to this practice. This is the hardest part. And even if you just got this down, it's a game changer for your mind. But the more you do it, the more we'll keep refining it over a period of time.
And go ahead, Denise.
Hey, Denise.
So what you just had said about the three at once, would you do that more from the Ajna Center, or are you actually
No,
trying
you
to
just
stay
literally
connected?
brain, solar plexus, sex chakra, and you just try to balance all three of them. Yeah.
All at one time, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Each center has a different kind of red light. That was their experience.
Okay, we have just a few more minutes. Let's go ahead and practice that one more time. Your awareness is on all three: your brain, your solar plexus, your sex chakra. Try to harmonize or balance all three. When I say harmonize, I just mean you're equally balancing all three. Move your awareness to the spine. So let go of the three. Move your awareness to the spine. And then just be still. Feels nice, yeah. So we're gonna move over to the prayer petition blessing. Join us if you'd like, or if you can. It's about a 15-minute thing that we do for a start. And remember, tomorrow night is the study group for the physical and spiritual aspects of the vagus nerve. So if you took that class, join us tomorrow night. And we always have our healing sessions before that with Astara. So hope to see you at some point. And I think I see a bunch of you this weekend on the body mapping class. Body mapping in the three brain, which is what we were just doing. So we take it a little bit deeper in the class. So anyway,